Central Club.
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Central Club. This episode is brought to you by Re-Aspire Printing and Boss Security. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, sub to the club, and hit the bell button to be notified of future content. Today's interview was all about faith, I think. Today we had on the great Reverend Calvin Robinson. You probably see this man on GB News, been in the media over the last year or so for some of his controversial topics. But it's a great insight to a man who's living in such a modern times for someone of faith, I think. And it's very hard hitting and homecoming to some of us who just see how our lives have changed from not just ourselves, but generationally of how far we've come in our lives. And I don't think for the good, really. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Stay central.
3, 2, 1.
I welcome Calvin Robinson.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm shocked that you're here, mate. Like,
Why?
I don't know. I was like,
Jumped on a train?
yeah, no, but it was just like, I've watched a lot of your stuff.
Oh, cheers.
Since being back into the real world. When I say the real world, since I've come out of heroin addiction and I feel like I'm back in the real world, gaining more education on myself. I'm on like catch up now from like, I still feel like I'm 19 and I'm on catch up. So,
How many years did you miss?
From 17, 18 I was fully, physically addicted, and I only got into recovery 29. It was 2020 lockdown, Corona. The worst year for some. It was the best year for me. So yeah, it was all my adult life. So I feel like my brain ain't fully developed, and I just you see your friends who you grew up with, they got mortgages, kids, wives, that type of stuff, and you just feel like, wow. I think that's a big thing in addiction with a lot of people. It's the battle after addiction that some people can't face, and it's been tough, but I've been a big fan of you, GB News and following you on Twitter and stuff, and I think you're a last of a dying breed, Calvin.
I don't know about that. I think there are a lot of people who share my opinions, my politics, and my faith, but they're quiet because they have to be.
Silenced.
Yes. There is a very vocal minority in this country that seems to think that they are here to show us a better way, to show us their way, and the rest of us have to be quiet and shut up. It's time for the progressives to take over now. I don't think that's the case.
Do you think this is probably the darkest time for Christianity?
No, there have been darker times. I do think we're entering a new dark age, though. I think if you look at the dark ages, where we lost vast swathes of knowledge, like we lost great literature, we lost great mathematics, we lost proper knowledge and understanding for like 900 years. I think we're at the cusp of that again, because we're seeing with Agatha Christie, Roald Dahl, James Bond, like properly English literature is being rewritten right before us, under our noses, and terms are being redefined, such as racism, as an example. Facts and truth are being redefined, such as what makes a man and a woman. Just basic knowledge is being changed, and the dictionaries themselves are being rewritten to the point that in another 10 years, will we actually have the same understanding of the world around us that we have today?
Yeah, it's very frightening to think of that. And it's like you're saying, it's under our nose, and I think everyone can see that. What is stopping it from not happening?
Nothing. We have to stop it from happening. Like, we have to say, no, enough is enough. We've let you have your playtime. Now go back inside.
Yeah. So it's like they're little children in their heads, the way...
They are little children because they're underdeveloped. Their ideology is underdeveloped. It's not rooted in truth. It's not rooted in evidence or first principles or enlightenment. It's rooted in emotion. And that's how children engage with the world. It's how they feel about the world around them, right? Rather than how they understand it. That's what this is. The whole woke movement or the liberal progressive ideology, doesn't matter what you want to call it, it's childlike.
Nice start. Yeah, I want to go into more of this, of course. I just want to give a little bit of a background for the people who don't know who you are. I'm pretty sure people have seen your mug on social media, especially the afro, you know.
Yeah. Well, the plan is one day when I want to settle down and live a quiet life, I'll shave it off and just disappear into the crowd.
I actually thought you was going to say you was going to get braids.
I might get raised when I go on holiday. Just 'cause it's easier
Cane rolls.
in the hot weather. Yeah,
Yeah. Why not? Have you ever had them?
yeah. I've had every hairstyle possible. Throughout school, I was pretty much bald most of it, like grade 1 or grade 2 at most. In my teenage years, I had dreadlocks, like proper dreadlocks. I've had funky dreads. I've had cane rows quite a lot.
Half and half.
I've had a flat top,
Yeah.
Fresh
Oh,
Prince
nice.
style. Yeah,
Fade? Or was that a bit too late on for you?
yeah. That's a bit contemporary for me.
You missed that one.
I have had a fade. I have, because I had my hair. Last time I had my hair shaved was just before lockdown. Actually, I had it all shaved off for charity, and the barbers that I went to, thankfully, did it for free because they knew I was shaving it off for charity, and they gave me a fade. It was nice.
Yeah, nice. No, it is a fresh afro, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, this is lockdown hair. This.
And you don't see afros no more. I haven't seen an afro in a long time, like
No.
to that level.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really a style. It's just how my hair grows. So
Fair enough. Yeah. Harrison, you could pick up an afro, I reckon. So Calvin, you're from Mansfield.
I am indeed born and bred.
What's it like living in Mansfield?
Well, I haven't lived there for a while, but it was great. It was a community. We all knew each other. Everyone looked out for each other. You know, I knew the name of the local bobby on the beat. If I was in trouble, if I got myself in trouble, other parents would tell me off. You know, my mum used to organise litter picking in the local area to, you know, that real community vibe. I mean, it weren't all pros. There were some cons to it as well. But I think I miss that town experience. I miss the community vibe. We don't have that in cities. I've lived in London most of my adult life, and it's lacking community.
Talking about like the city and towns and the community vibe, I want to just go on to something quickly about, this is my idea of it anyway, and tell me if I'm wrong, but multiculturalism. If I said to you that Cardiff is more multicultural than London, what would you say to me?
I mean, I wouldn't expect it, but I'd be willing to hear your reasons for why.
I just think multiculturalism is where different cultures combine and coincide and live together,
Sure.
you know? But I seem to think when I look at places like London and stuff, like it's segregated. You know, it's you know, like the whites ain't really with the blacks. You do get mixed race families and stuff, but it's black gangs. You know, you've got the white, you know, a gang of whites and a gang of Asians. But in Cardiff, as we know where we're from, like everyone's mixed.
Right.
You
So
know?
I suppose it depends what you mean by multicultural then. Because
That is
when
what
I
I
hear
meant.
multicultural, I think multiple cultures.
Multiple
Whereas
cultures.
you're talking about diversity as in like people, like a mixing pot. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose London isn't really a mixing pot. For the most part, people romanticize it and say, yeah, we have people of all different cultures and backgrounds living in here.
But there's different areas for them where they live in.
You've got the Somali area, you've got the Pakistani area, you've got the black Afro-Caribbean area, you've got the African area, you've got the white
Gated
area,
Jewish communities.
Polish area, Romanian area. Yeah, it is quite separatist because I don't think multiculturalism actually works. I think you have to have a predominant culture, and then you can welcome aspects of different cultures into it, but you have to have a main culture that in Britain should be British culture.
And would you say that that's dying as well then?
It is because people are ashamed of it. People don't want to admit that, you know, you speak to anyone, not anyone, but speak to a lot of people on the left, they'll say, we don't have a culture. What is British culture? You know, we are a multicultural society. It's like, okay, but if you go to Japan, you would accept that there is a Japanese culture. You go to Iraq, you would expect there is an Iraqi culture. Like, everywhere has a culture. To suggest that we don't have one is just ignorance. Like, what they're actually saying is they don't like having a culture, or they don't like their culture, and they want to, because they want to be seen as the opposite of racist. And everyone's said for so long, to not be racist, you have to be welcoming and inclusive and diverse and multicultural and all these things. Like, no, you just have to not denigrate people based on their race. Like, you can still adhere to your own culture. You can still appreciate or even prefer your own culture without being a racist. And I think the left are so focused on their own racist issues that they denigrate their own culture.
Speaking of race then, so you brought up mother black, mother white?
Mum's white, dad's black.
Dad's black. Dad's from Jamaica?
Well, his family's from Jamaica. Dad was born here, but his parents came over during Windrush.
And would you say Mansfield? What's the culture like in Mansfield?
Mansfield is predominantly white. Now there are a lot of Poles there and Romanians, but when I was growing up, there was pretty much just all white Brits. My family were one of the first black families, if not the first black family in town, which of course came with a lot of pros and a lot of cons. You know, my dad's dad received a lot of racism. My dad received a lot of racism. I received less than my dad, but with each generation, it got better and better. But at the same time, they integrated. So I sometimes talk about the fact that when my grandfather died, the whole town was there, like hundreds of people. We couldn't fit in the cemetery. There were that many people there because he was a part of the town. Just like my father is part of Mansfield, and Mansfield's part of him. Like, I don't think he would ever leave, and everyone there knows him. Most people there respect him because he's become a part of the community, a key part of the community.
When you say a key part of the community, you mean contributing factors?
Right. So my dad and all his brothers have martial arts clubs, right? So they run taekwondo clubs. One of my uncles has a gym. They've always been bouncers on the doors around town. So everyone who goes out clubbing, Mansfield's a clubbing town.
They get knocked out by a Robinson or choked out.
They know the Robinsons because the Robinsons have become a part of the town.
Yeah.
And like my grandfather started out in manual labor, at the metal factory, and my dad followed him. And then my dad set up his own business and kind of created jobs in the town. And I think that's how you become a part of something.
Your mother, like, what was her background like?
So my mum's a teacher and a lecturer, and she's always been into education, and she's always been quite involved in politics too, but not in the way that I am. That she wasn't ever partisan in her politics. My mum has always been about, I grew up having councillors all around my dinner table from Labour and Conservatives. Everyone was welcome at my house because my mum was all about the community and where we lived, and she would speak to whoever she needed to get stuff done. And that taught me pragmatism, but also the idea that family comes first and community comes first, and party politics comes second. Like, this is why I get so frustrated at our politicians, because they should be loyal to the country before they're loyal to the party, but it's always the other way around. Yeah,
it's very interesting you say that. As well, like, would you say you're a product of? Would you say you're a product of your environment? Then you're growing up around these politicians, community figures, for you to end up being one yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think my mum inspired me in many ways, but one of those ways was you can't sit around moaning. And so many people sit around moaning about the world or the environment, and I'm like, that's just wasted negative energy. Like, if you don't like something, get up and change it. Do something about it. And we all have that power. And so many of us sit around and say, yeah, the people in power, they're leading us down a drain. And that's like,
we're never going to change the world.
Yeah, but then become one of those people in power. Like, if you don't like your politicians, stand for politics. Stand for local government or stand for parliament. If you don't like anything about where you live, change it. This is why I have very little sympathy for the people in Oxford who have the LTNs and they have these horrible 15-minute zones, because they voted for them. I was out there campaigning saying, look, if you vote these people in, they're going to implement LTNs. So what did they do? They voted them in, and now they've got these LTNs. So, you voted for this. It's your fault. It's your problem.
Simple, innit? Is it only in Oxford now then?
Sorry?
Is that only in Oxford happening?
I don't know if it's only there, but they've definitely got the first ones there.
They were the trial.
I was there
trial and error
for a couple of years, so I was part of it, and I just don't know why people, it's turkeys voting for Christmas.
You look at your mother, your father. Okay, your mother's very active, community based. But where did that lead you to go down a religious path?
So neither of my parents are very religious. I mean, they're both baptized, but their parents were. So their mothers in particular. Both of my grandmothers went to church, very different churches. My maternal grandmother went to a Church of England church. My paternal grandmother went to a Baptist church, and I went with them sometimes to Sunday school and that kind of stuff. But it was never really a major part of our lives growing up for me and my sister. I was always searching, and I was always looking for something. I didn't know what it was, but I was always looking for something. It was only in my early adulthood that I discovered what I was looking for was Jesus Christ. And growing up, I'd always prayed. I always felt like I had a relationship with God. I always felt like my prayers were answered, and that was an important thing to me. But I didn't have a structure around it. I didn't have a religion around my faith until I encountered Christ.
How many of us pray, please God, and don't practice it? Do you see what I mean? It's like we do rely on something. We are trying to communicate to something.
Every single human being knows there is a God. We're born with that knowledge in our hearts. Some people run away from it. Some people deny it. Some people are always searching for an understanding of it. And some people just know it. But we all know there is a God.
Yes. Interesting.
And it's the language I'm using there. Some people might be watching saying, no, there's no such thing. But even then, people will be like, yeah, I believe in something bigger than us, or I believe in the universe. Or
Yeah,
like
that's God.
different ways of articulating it. But we all know in our
There is
hearts,
a creator.
yes.
And you come out of school. Did you go straight into the Church of England, or into that route of
No.
religious teachings?
No. Straight from university, I went into tech. So I was programming, developing websites and mobile apps and that kind of stuff. That was good fun. But it was empty. We got drunk on a Friday night. We made quite a bit of money. We had a good laugh, but it wasn't fulfilling. And around that time, I started searching for a way to be content, not just happy, to be fulfilled, not just rewarded. And that led me into teaching, because I discovered that in my area of computer science, there's a massive knowledge gap in this country. Like everyone says, oh yeah, the kids are always on their computers. They know what they're doing. Yeah, but they can't program for naught, right? They have no skills and no knowledge. They just tap on, well, these days, TikTok or Snapchat, right?
My kid's amazing. You got to see him on the phone.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
But they're not.
My kid knows what he's
Minecraft, doing. Which is great, but it's not a skill.
Yeah.
Or there are different skills that you get from it, but you know what I'm saying. So I thought, I can make a difference here. I can teach some programming skills to the younger generation. And that's what got me into teaching. And the moment I became a teacher, I realized this was the start of my vocation. It was the start of my looking at the world in terms of what can I give, how can I contribute to the world, rather than what can I take from the world. And it was, instead of looking for a job, it was looking for a vocation. It was, instead of looking for a career and ambition, it was looking for contribution. And that was the start of my calling. So I feel called to ordained ministry, to priestly ministry. I'm currently a deacon, which is the step before priest, but be a part of the priesthood is teaching. So becoming a teacher was the first part of my journey.
That's like common knowledge, and is it? In most people who become priests, they teach in first.
Well, I mean, you're a pastor, as in you're there for the emotional and spiritual support of your parish, and you're a teacher because you're there to teach the gospel. And these are two important elements, and the third is that you're there to administer the sacraments. So it's I didn't realize when I became a teacher that it was the start of my journey towards
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long have you been on this journey for now?
Oh, too long now. It's a long process. Years and years. So I felt called. Then I had to say to the church, I feel called, and then they had to discern whether they think that I'm called, and they said that they did. And then they sent me to seminary. So I went to Oxford to study theology, and then after that training, you get sent to a church for, it's kind of like trainee priesthood, but you spend 3 years assisting a priest, and the first of those 3 years you spend as a deacon, which is the year that I'm in right now. So I'm in my diaconate, and then hopefully at the end of my year as a deacon, which is coming up this June, I should be ordained to the presbytery to become a priest, and then. So it's all a lifelong journey, but throughout all of this process, you're learning theology, and you never stop learning theology.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Like the levels you have to go through. It's not like you're the chosen one. I want to be a priest, and
Yeah, it's not one bam, thank you. Although sometimes it is. So I did what I would call the proper route, in that
there are
I went to
shortcuts.
residential theological training. So I went to a theological college. Like I lived and breathed there. We said morning and evening prayer together. We ate together. We learned together. It was like a religious community. But some people these days, they do evening classes, and especially certain demographics that do a few evening classes and then they get ordained, especially if you're elderly and or a woman. They kind of...
But with this though, like obviously there's a lot of stigmas and perceptions with everything in the world, especially religion. Is it like a way of life you have to live? Like, because you seem very, you probably hate this word, modernized, but you kind of seem that in a way, like where are you allowed to do? Is there restrictions on your life?
Oh yeah.
Like when I went to I went to a rehab, which was a religious one, Victory Outreach, and we weren't allowed to watch TV, we weren't allowed to smoke cigarettes, not allowed to phone home. Obviously, there was part of that probably to do with the rehab, but the religious side to it, like there was certain things we couldn't do, and I was.
So, we have to live a life in Christ, right? So we have to live a biblical life, meaning we have to avoid sin and public disrepute, like as in we couldn't become lager louts and get drunk every night and sleep around and swear at people and just live a rowdy life, that would be behavior unbecoming for an ordained minister. So there are expectations. Yeah.
And this probably leads us on to the conversation at hand. So if you're talking about sin and what it says in the Bible about how having to live in this way, how is it now that we've got this woke kind of culture within the Church of England that you can have the same? How have they been allowed in? Who's let these people in, would you say?
It's entryism. They've forced their way in and taken over. So the Church of England is a prime example because it has become a woke institution now. I don't know how far back it goes, but if you look at the 1920s, you can see it's already beginning then. So it's quite early on. It's not like the last 5 years. It's been a long process to the point that most of our bishops, not all of them, but most of the bishops in the CB now are woke liberals, liberal progressives, as in they think we should be looking at the world in a way of being nice and being, affirming people's desires and just be accepting of everyone and everything. But the faith isn't about that. The faith is about what? It's about the gospel. The gospel is the good news in that we have the option for eternal life in Jesus Christ, right? But there are criteria, there are conditions to be met. We have to repent, as in we have to turn away from our sinful lives, and we have to have faith in him. So we have to turn away from one thing and turn towards something else. There isn't come as you are and stay as you are, as the wokies would have it. There is a come as you are, but expect to be changed and want to be changed and want to empty yourself of your sinful ways and take on board God's will.
It's interesting because from looking at it from the outside in, it seems to me like you want it to be practiced and preached the way it was written back then.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And then we had Tommy Robinson on, and he talks about the religion of Islam, and I actually said on that, and maybe you will be like, no, but I was like, he was talking about how barbaric it was.
Yeah.
And this type of stuff, and I said, surely there could be a way where we could update scripture in a way that coincides with the human side of touch.
No,
you disagree?
No, because this is the mistake that the wokies make, in that they think, it was written 2,000 years ago, so we have to update it for now. It's like, no, God makes no mistakes, right? God is infallible, and his word is infallible, and he gave us the word at a certain time. He chose the time to come to earth as man, right? As God incarnate, as Jesus Christ. He chose that time and that place, and all for a reason. And he gave us the lessons on how to live a good life, how to live a holy life by following him. And if we want to change that or update that, we're making gods of ourselves. We're putting ourselves before God. We're saying, actually, I know better than God. That is what we call idolatry. That's a great sin.
But am I right to say the scriptures were written by humans?
Yeah, of course they're written by humans. Yeah.
So they could be lost in translation, and they may have put their own agendas through and stuff like that.
No, because the way that God works is he works through humans, right? So Christ chose 12 apostles to hand down his faith to after his passion, death, and resurrection. And the apostles led the church, and then they handed down their knowledge, and that tradition got written down into the Gospels, and then the Gospels got handed down to us. So that tradition has been handed down from Christ through his apostles, through his bishops and elders, to where we are today, through what we call apostolic succession. So yes, there have been many translations of the Bible, but all the translations always go back to the source and the original codex that we still have access to, and all of that is, even if we didn't have the written Gospel, we still have the sacred tradition anyway. So it is inspired. It is the Holy Spirit works through the apostles, just as Jesus Christ worked through the apostles.
We could call that time dilution, maybe. If you're saying lost in translation, maybe passing it down, how would it get diluted? The message is that what you're trying to say in a way?
So, just sort of the Chinese whisper sort of thing. So how things can change slightly.
Yeah.
But who is there anyone out there who has the right to change these scriptures now and update them, right?
Nobody has the right.
Exactly. Well, I'm thinking if something was written 2,000 years ago and it was written through God, Jesus Christ, it shouldn't be changed, should it? I think that's the argument that Islam has a lot in it. We haven't changed our scripture, and I get that. So if anything, these priests, I'm assuming what you're saying is they're flawed in their beliefs if they think they can change it. Really.
Well, I don't even think it's the priests. Like most laymen and most clergy are faithful people that follow the scriptures. We just have a few woke bishops that are trying to lead the Church of England into apostasy, and that's because they're more afraid of the world than they are of God, it seems. Because they're afraid of the woke mob and they want to appease the liberal progressives. And actually, they know that their church is dying. They know that the Church of England is dying, and they want to leave behind a good corpse. That's what they want. They want to be seen as having done a good job.
Yes, I see. What is your take on other religions? You know, we're in a time now where the world is smaller than it used to be through technology and other things. What is your take on, you know, other religions?
Well, there is only one truth. The truth is universal, and that truth is Jesus Christ. And so I have a lot of time for Judaism because that was the origins of our faith. And obviously I believe that Christianity is the truth, the true way. Other religions are mistaken, and I pray for people to find the truth. And when it comes to things like Islam, you know, it's a Christian heresy that it's taken half-truths from Christianity and kind of twisted them and manipulated them, and we were warned about this. We are warned about this in the Bible, that there will be false prophets.
Yeah.
And
I think what is interesting is Christianity is older than Islam.
Of course.
Yeah. And Islam talk about, well, our book has never been changed, but the Bible has. But
the Bible hasn't been changed.
Whatever they're trying to interpret, maybe Islam is just an update of their Bible, like in that sense where you can say, well, we've been here all along, you know. People would say the time is what authenticates Christianity to Islam.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the time. I'd say it's Jesus Christ. Like I would say, if you want evidence of what is true, like God came to earth, came down, humbled himself to the level of a man and truly God, in order to show us that he exists. And no other faith has that truth.
Okay.
And you know, Muslims will say, yeah, but we venerate Jesus Christ too, and that's why we're the truth. And I'll say, well, no, because you took what already existed, you took the truth and twisted it, and that doesn't make it true.
How does it feel, going through everything you've been through in your life journey to get to where you are and where you want to be put in the media as not woke enough to be a priest?
I don't really mind. I think the Bible says that if we follow the faith, we will be persecuted for the faith. And Jesus says we are blessed because of that. So I expect to be persecuted for my faith. I didn't expect to be persecuted within the church, but the problem is the closer you get to Christ, the more of a target you are for the devil, right? So of course the church is going to be a target for evil. Of course it is. But not being woke enough, I'm happy to not be woke enough.
Yeah. And things like, we got, same-sex marriage, that type of thing, which we could probably talk about maybe, but even the stigma of paedophilia within the church and stuff, this type of thing, do you think that's, like, what do you say about that?
No, but yeah, it's a serious problem and it needs addressing. And it's one of the first things I talked about on my show, one of the first monologues I gave, that the church needs to look inside itself. But the problem is, people use it as a weapon now.
Yes.
And yes, there has been a historic problem with paedophilia in the church because paedophiles go wherever they can get access to children. And that used to be priests. Now, what demographic is targeting children the most? What demographic is going into schools and reading to children the most? What demographic is asking parents to leave their toddlers and children and babies with them and being sexualized around them? Gyrating, wearing skimpy clothes. What demographic is doing that? That's the question I would ask. But whenever I talk about this horrible situation with drag queen story time, people say, no, it's the priests that are the pedophiles. It's like, you're missing the point. The reason there were so many pedophiles in the priesthood is because the priests had access to children. Now these people have access to children, and you're trusting them with your children because they're not priests, then you are complicit.
Do you want to dive a bit more into that drag side of it?
Well, it's just monstrous, isn't it? I think adults reading to children is the most beautiful thing you can ever do. And of course, more parents need to be reading to their children. But I don't understand why drag queens need to be doing it. I don't understand that. Drag queens are adult entertainment. They're for over 18s. They belong in strip bars and nightclubs, as they always have done. It's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't go to that kind of thing. But if people want to, in a liberal, progressive society, they have that choice. But to take children and babies and toddlers to them, that is wicked. And, there are so many videos out there. If we see the parents like, yeah, I'm so progressive, look at me. And the babies are like, and the children are gobsmacked. They don't know what's going on. They shouldn't be exposed to that. Their innocence should be protected. Their parents are failing them, and we're letting it happen. So, I mean, we're all complicit in this for letting it happen. We all need to stand up and say, no, this is not acceptable. Protect the children.
Are you fearful for how this generation is going to come to grow?
Oh, entirely. I think there'll be pushback, though, because, the pendulum can only swing so far before it has to come back the other way. And I'm fearful of that, too. What's going to happen eventually? Because, the left keeps saying, oh, you guys the far right, you guys the far... No, they haven't seen the far right yet, but the far right is coming for them. They should be afraid of the far right. I'm not the far right.
Yeah, well, I've actually seen things where you are labelled far right.
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it?
I know, it is sad, because they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, it is bizarre. I've seen some videos and, I just don't see what... Never mind, like, trying to make it a thing, but what is the enticement for... Why does drags want to speak to kids anyway?
So I've had one on my show, and I asked that question. I didn't get a straight answer. I don't know what they get out of it. Like, why would you want to do this? What do you get out of it, and what does the child get out of it? It's so suspect.
Yeah, there's so many things that drags, I'm pretty sure business is booming with drags anyway when you've got stag do's, adult entertainment. It's massive. Like, why do you need... It can't be money. It can't be, oh, well, I need to pay my job and there's something that... What is it?
Make your money in a better way.
I'm sure some of them try and say it's trying to break the same as coming out as gay. It's trying to break down those barriers, isn't it?
It is breaking down barriers, but those barriers need to be up.
Yeah,
those barriers are important.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. I do. We had a trans on. It wasn't about that. It was about her life as addiction and stuff. But like, fair play. She said the same thing, didn't she? And talking. It was more about the sex change of making a decision at a certain age.
Yeah, children should not be doing that.
No. I don't think we should be forcing it down their throats. I think it's the same with homosexuality and religion. I appreciate what you what you follow, what you believe in, but when you hear it with like extremism and stuff, and you say, look, you can do whatever you want, but don't push it in my face. I respect what you do. I respect what you are. But this is another level, I think. This is indoctrination.
Yeah. Well, there is always going to be indoctrination, right? There's always going to be a set of values that you're passing on to your young children. So you have to have a choice. You have to choose which values you want to pass on. You can't have no values. That's the problem. That's why we failed so much, because as a so-called secular society, we want to be value-free. And we want to say, we're neutral. There is no neutrality, because nature abhors a vacuum, so it gets filled with something. So that's why wokeness has become the set of values that are being pushed in, if not Islam, which has also been pushed in. For me, the set of values we should be passing on is Christianity, because that's about goodness, truth, and beauty. That's the set of values I would pass on to my children. I don't want my children being passed on the woke values, because they are about ugliness and lies, and I don't want them being passed on the values of Islam, because again, I think it's barbaric and lies. I want them to know what truth, beauty, and goodness are all about.
What about we could talk about it, the barbaricness within Christianity, within the Bible. There are things in there that, I would say are barbaric.
Give us an example.
Stoned to death and things like, there is that in the Bible.
So the Bible
stoned
says,
to death.
No, the Bible clearly says, Jesus Christ himself says we cannot stone anyone unless we ourselves... Let him without sin be the first to cast stones, right? So unless you are sure that you have no sin, you cannot be the person to cast stones. So there is no stoning.
Okay. I need to read the Bible. No. Okay. What's your take on false prophets?
My take on false prophets is that they were prophesied. We knew that they would come, and well, we've seen the results of this, right? If a warlord decides he wants more power and more privilege, he can take something that's true, manipulate it, and pretend to be a prophet, pretend to have some special access to scripture or to God, and people follow him. We used to call that a cult. We quite often do.
Well, yeah, like I watched something 2 nights ago, The Waco, American Apocalypse, David Koresh. Have you seen it? No. Yeah, it's on Netflix now, guys. If any of you want to go and watch it, it's it's crazy. He thought he was the Messiah in America and Texas. They had a 53-day standoff with women, children, his followers within this compound. And when the FBI finally went in, they just lit the building on fire and with everyone in there and killed them. Just crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Another death cult.
Another death cult, yeah. You say Britain is not a racist country. This was an article I seen. Why was there backlash to that? Because I don't think we're a racist country.
Yeah, good question. I suppose the people who are giving the backlash must think we are a racist country, so therefore they must be the racists, surely. If they're saying you're wrong, that, you know, if I'm saying this is not a racist country, they're going, you're wrong, it is. And if how do they know? They must be the racists, because I think individuals are racist, right? And I think individuals need to be held to account for their racism. Of course, because it's horrible to bully anyone for anything, and especially something they can't control about themselves, such as their race. That's wrong. But to say the country is racist would suggest that only one race is welcome here and other races aren't, or that we are somehow unequal under the law or something. But we all have equality under the law, and we have, you know, so many anti-discrimination laws that if someone was racist towards you, they're getting in a lot of trouble in this country today. So I don't know in what way they can say the country is racist.
I think the most upsetting thing is how open we are to immigration and like we were just talking about, we don't have a British culture. So how can we be that accepting but then be racist?
That's part of the problem. So we're talking about racism and you brought immigration into it. Like, that conflation is what the left has done for so long, saying you're
not allowed immigrants, that means you're racist.
Yeah, but it's not at all. Like, I am
so true
against immigration. I think we need to cut down on immigration. We got far too much immigration. That's not because I'm a racist.
That's because UK is a small little island and we don't have enough resources anymore, and, you know.
Absolutely. And there is something to be said about you have to look after your own before we can extend the hand of charity, right? Of course we should be charitable. Of course, like, refugees from Hong Kong should be welcomed over here. Refugees from war-torn countries should be welcomed over here. But that doesn't mean we should keep the doors open for just anyone, such as Albania, which is supposed to be a safe country that's becoming part of the EU. Like, we have to have criteria. And I believe in borders, because borders are, and, you know, nations and tribes are God ordained for a reason. We belong to our little tribes. We belong to our communities, our family, our community, our nation, and then the world, right?
Yeah, I know. I do agree massively. And like, you know, Britain is built on immigrants, really, you know.
But no, it's not. That's another of their lies. Don't believe these lies.
I don't.
Look at Britain. Right. So
I do think. I think over the last 200 years, it's a massive factor has been immigration and the work they have put in. Don't you think?
So the peak of Britain, I would say, was around Edwardian period, right? So 1901 to 1910, right? King Edward VII. Like, so after Queen Victoria, like the start of the 20th century. That was the peak of Britain. Just after the Victorian age, where we had most of our beautiful buildings created, our beautiful streets, like our heritage was secured under the Victorian era. And under the Edwardian era, we had more prosperity and people came out of poverty. Like, we didn't have serfdom and all that kind of stuff. And as we enter into the Georgian period, as we come towards the second Elizabethan era, that's when we start to see decline and decay. The country over the last 50, 60, 70 years has been going downhill, not uphill. The country wasn't built by immigrants. The country was built by Brits. Well, by Englishmen, actually, not even Brits. Immigrants are newer.
When people say it's been built by immigrants, they literally mean the people building the buildings, putting them together would have been employed, whereas...
Slaves, you mean?
Well,
no, they wouldn't. They would have been Victorians.
Yeah, I mean employed people. So they would have worked on creating our city and stuff. And
what, people from other countries?
Yeah. So when you say built by immigrants, yes, they.
Is that what? Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't. Not at all. No, I think immigration. The boom of immigration.
Well, this just shows how brainwashed we've all been then.
Like, really. 1950s, when my grandparents came over, that was the boom of immigration, because we did need more
after the war
laborers. Yeah, so the doors were opened for a period while that need was there, and then once that need was met, the doors were closed. Right, but that 1950s onwards, and then we got Pakistani and all that kind of thing as well. So it is the late 20th century where Britain saw mass immigration.
I look at it in the sense of, like, when we had the Vikings come over, they invaded, and the Romans. I've always looked at it like that, and we've all come from different distant lands and built Britain. Mm-hmm. That's how I've looked at it, if that makes sense. But I do know what you're saying. As well by Englishmen.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how far.
And I understand, yeah, we can go back all the way. I get what you're saying. Maybe I was talking more recently, though, 200 years and stuff,
I think we're talking about like our docks, our city. We know it was.
Yeah, like my family are Greek, yours was Somali.
Yeah.
You know, your father was Jamaican.
Yeah.
And they come over at them times, and we feel the world as we know it, I think, is
So I'm not
built.
saying it's a bad thing that these families have come over. Well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that they didn't build the nation. That's a lie. That's the lie the left propagate.
So the real Great Britain was built long before that, is what you're saying.
When Great Britain was actually great.
Yeah, yes. And, you know, you spoke about buildings then. Why don't we see these beautiful buildings anymore? Have we lost that technology? Like you say, we've lost
No. We
intelligence.
still have the skills,
Or?
we have the knowledge, we have the technology. We just don't have the faith. We don't believe what they believed then. Back then, you'd start a project, you might never see it end. You might never see the Westminster Palace finished. You start it because you believed in the nation and you believed in God. Right? You did it for the greater glory of God and you did it for your kinsmen.
There's that building in Spain, isn't it? It's a religious building, isn't it? Is it in Spain or Barcelona? There's a church. I think it's a church they built. It's being built. It's still being built now. Right. It's being built for years and years. I will get the name because I'm surprised you don't know it, Calv.
But it's not just that one. It's across the world, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah. There's buildings now. I'm saying though that have started hundreds of years ago.
Something up. It has to be cheap. It has to be done instantly. Yeah. And the person who's designing it has to get the glory.
Yeah, you got to get the profit and the glory.
Nation or the country. It's like they have to get I'm the famous architect that did that horrible piece of glass and concrete.
You're right. And it's funny because if we had a war now or a cataclysmic disaster. Yeah, words are difficult, mate. If we had a cataclysmic disaster, some of the things that would stand would not be this glass. And
on the way here, your father showed me the stadium. It's ugly.
It is.
Everyone's like, oh, that's the Cardiff Stadium. Mate, it's just big pieces of metal. But that castle, that's beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely stunning. That's history. That's heritage.
Yeah.
That is our culture, right? That stadium, I wouldn't care if that fell apart tomorrow.
Well, I think someone said as well, if like from 500 years from now, like none of they actually, someone said to me, I was in prison, and when you see all these buildings around us and like you said, none of these will be standing in 400 or 500 years, it'll be dust.
Yeah.
But this prison, and it was Dartmoor prison he was on about, he said, this prison will be standing, you know?
Built to last.
Yeah. Limestone. And yeah, it is fascinating, and it is, like you said, the world as we know it here in Britain anyway, like it's a massive decline, isn't it? We can all see it.
It's not just our buildings, it's every aspect of our lives. We have a consumerist society where we want things instantly and we want things for the short term. Like the smartphone in my pocket, right? It's coming up to 2 years old. I'm already thinking about getting the new iPhone. I don't need a new iPhone. This phone will probably do me for the next 5-10 years.
Well, it won't actually, because they're designed to break.
Exactly, that's part of the problem. But I have books that have been around long before my great-great-great-grandparents were around, right? I've got books that are so old, and because the knowledge in there, they wanted it to last. Whereas things that we design now, I've got headphones that aren't even 10 years old, and they've been kept in a drawer, and they're already falling apart, not even being used. Like, we just don't create
the lack of use.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that's... What can we do to change this? How can we reverse this?
We've got to stop believing in something bigger than ourselves. It's not about our personal instant desires and needs. It comes back to faith. We have to believe in God.
Yeah.
It's that simple. For our nation to survive, Western culture was built on Christianity. For it to survive, we have to refine Christianity. Without it, it will fall apart. And I mean, it's a choice. Like, either people want it to survive or they don't. And I'm not bothered either way.
But you said you know when you left school, you worked in technology and stuff. Do you not have a belief in this then at all?
No, not in the same way. No, I was, if I was going back into teaching now, I wouldn't teach computer science again, because I don't think it's a subject that needs to be taught in school.
Do you think it's evil?
No, I think it's a subject for university. I think there are aspects of technology that are evil and need to be avoided, such I hate AI. AI will be our downfall. But now it's getting to the point I can't, I see new pictures of the Pope every day. I'm like, why is he dressed? Oh, that's AI. Like,
what's that? The one with the hood? Have you seen it? Is that fake, is it?
Yeah, it's AI.
Swear down.
Yeah.
I thought he was genuinely busting that white puffy coat in the chain.
I loved it. It's a great coat.
And the Donald Trump getting arrested.
Tell what's real now, exactly. Then it's going to get worse.
I watched an app this morning when I was getting ready. I was on the shit that I was, and when I looked at my phone on TikTok, sorry, and he went, "Oh my God, you got to see this AI tool." Some American guy, he's like, "I just rapped the lyric and I put Kanye's voice on it, and it's literally Kanye voice rapping it." Like, that is, How many people growing up wanted to like who make music wanted to collaborate with a certain artist? They can literally do it now.
Deep fakes.
I hate it.
AI is one thing, and then transhumanism is the other.
Yeah,
The
well, we'll
idea
talk
that
about that if you want. In a sec, we'll fly down.
Don't want to break your flow.
No, really, we've been all over the place, really. But there is. Go on. What was you going to do?
I just want to pick your brains on
Yeah, go on.
basically. But I couldn't tell you the source, where it was from, but explaining how the Holy Bible helped build civilizations across the world because it was the only form of text everyone was sort of working from.
Yeah.
Singing from the same sheet.
Yeah.
Basically. So for people to like slam in now and, they need to look at what it actually done for humanity.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think our very way of life was built on this book, on the values within the book, and now we think we're better. We think we know more. We're very arrogant, actually, in the 21st century. We see everything in the past as bad and everything in the future as good. I think that's a backwards way of thinking, because societies don't progress in a linear way. They go up and down, right? And some of them crumble or fall, and some of them rise. And Rome fell, and I think we're at the peak of. Well, we've passed
Olympus
the
has
peak
fallen
of the
again,
West,
yeah.
and we are seeing the fall of the West because we think we're greater than everything that's come before us, rather than engaging and taking it on board and learning from it. We don't learn from the past anymore.
Well, America is one of the most recent empires we've seen rise, and I think most of that was built on Christianity as well, wasn't it? Really, when you think about it.
No, it was. Pretty much all of the first states were Christian states, like explicitly
Eastern
Christian
Board, yeah.
states. And people say, it's a secular country and separation of church and state, but that's not what separation of church and state means. What it means is the state shouldn't be part of the church. The church should be separate from the state, but there should be a church. There was an expectation in the founding fathers, in those original documents, that there would be a church, because they understood that to have freedom of worship, you had to be a Christian state. You had to be a Christian country. And I swear by this, because I say it so often, because look around the world. Tell me one country where it's not even an official Islamic country, but any country that is predominantly Islamic, there is no freedom of religion. Christians, Jews are persecuted. But any Christian country, people have freedom to worship whatever God or religion.
Is that a good trait to have, or is
Yes.
this weakness?
Yes. No, that if we want to have freedom comes
It's
from
got to be,
Christianity.
yeah.
Islam does not provide freedom. And like I say, you can't have a secular, you can't have a neutral. There has to be a faith. And if there isn't one, something else steps in, like wokeness.
Would you say, though, if you go to Israel and the way the Palestinians are being treated, that is not freedom, would you say? Or
What do you mean the way they're being treated?
Well, they're boarded off in these, Palestine and the East Bank. They're secluded, in they? They're saying they're being prosecuted for their religion, really.
No, the problem, I mean, this is going to be controversial.
It's going to be come on,
The problem
Cal.
there is that's a majority Islamic area, part of the world, right? And there's only one country in that whole area where people are free. And that is Israel. And they don't like it. And they don't like Israel for it. So they want to destroy it.
Yeah, No, you're right. I understand. Like, if you look geographically, if I looked on the map and you look, and if you had like red for Islamic and blue for
Take all
Christianity,
it's surrounded by
it
Islamic
is just a little blue lake.
And if I asked you which one of those countries in that area would you have to go and live in one of them, which one would it be?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. Come on.
Oh, what, Dubai or something like that? Are you on about? Or?
No, would you go and live in Syria? Would you go and live in Iraq, Iran? Would you go and live in Israel?
Yeah.
Right,
I moved to Tel Aviv or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Sounds quite good.
There's only one country in that whole of the Middle East that I would live in.
Sorry, I thought you was excluding Israel and making me have to go to another one. Yeah, no, it would be Israel. Of course,
Right.
it would.
And that's why they hate it.
So
Very interesting.
you just said, something like wokeness would take the place of a religion, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't there.
Yeah.
What could you see a world looking like, or a country where wokeness is like the predominant sort of ideology?
That's a scary place, because wokeness is intolerant. I mean, they preach about tolerance all the time, but they are intolerant of people that don't subscribe to their worldview. Like the attacks. Look at the last week. So we've had Kelly J. Keane attacked in New Zealand. She is a woman who's standing up for women's rights, saying that, a woman is an adult human female, a biological fact we've all known for the whole of human history up until 5 minutes ago. And they're saying, we are unsafe if you come into our country. We are not safe. We are afraid. But everything they say is a lie and a double truth, because the moment she got there, she got attacked. She got physically attacked. Big crowd swarming her. She almost got trampled on, and she got, red soup attacked, shoved on her and stuff. It's like they are the ones saying they're unsafe. They're the ones saying they're afraid, but she's the one who's the victim in that. And they flip everything around. Look at what's happening in the States with the shooting in Nashville. A trans person has gone in and shot Christians. And the trans community, how have they reacted? They're saying, oh, hope they were Republicans. You should have got more of them. It's like they are the ones who are saying, as trans people, there is a genocide going on trans. No, there's no genocide. Trans people aren't being killed, but because people aren't subscribing to their view, they're being killed. Like everything they say is double speak.
I've seen one of a guy as well. He was a trans guy, and he attacked someone with an axe in a shop, like in America, like, and it's just like, what the fuck, like, do you know what I mean?
I will never say that a man can become a woman. I will never say that a woman can become a man. I will never say that you can change sex. I will never admit those things because I think they're lies. I think they are untrue. I will never subscribe to that. But they would not welcome me into their society.
Yeah. I watched something the other day. It was a clip I watched, and the way it was put was, I don't know about these, the way we can be identified now, all these different genders. I don't know. He said, but rest assured, 150 years from now, 200 years from now, if we got dig up from the ground, I know that people will say that's a male and that's a female. Yeah. They're not going to say that's an ironing board, that's a tennis racket, that's a fit. And I looked at it like that, and I thought, science, hard facts like that is, that's,
basic.
That's what it is. That's what it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And so who would you say are majority persecuted now? Would you say it's Christianity? Would you say it's just people who are not woke? Like,
no one's persecuted in the West. Like, anyone can do whatever they like. People are intolerant in the West. So the woke lot are intolerant against Christians, and they say it's the other way around. At the moment, everyone's quite tolerant of the Muslims because it's seen as exotic, and there's actually a bit of racism going on there. It's like, oh yeah, they're allowed to do their special bigoted way because they're foreign. But actually,
it's very true. Yeah,
beliefs that Muslims and Christians have in common, Christians are not tolerated for those beliefs, but Muslims are. That's that patronizing racism that the woke lot have. But at some point, there's going to come a clash because the woke lot are going to realize that the Muslims do not believe the same things they believe. When you see this LGBT lobby going out with pro-Palestine banners, and it's like, you do realize that these things are...
they're against your values.
So contradictory.
Yeah, that's quite comical, actually.
It's stupid is what it is.
Yeah. I watched you've done Cambridge and Oxford, haven't you? I watched a speech he was talking about, and it was about same-sex marriage, and there was like a little something he was talking about with love is love. I was just wondering if you could kind of break down that for us.
Yeah, because that's the most dangerous sentence they say, and they say it all the time. Love is love, because it's supposed to mean like anyone can love anyone. Like, if you're against love, you are a bigot, you're a bad person, because love is the greatest thing in the world, and love is great. Of course, it is great, but love isn't love. When they say love is love, they're breaking down barriers and boundaries, right? And what they're trying to say is that anyone can love anyone, and I think that that's not true. I think love, in its ordered, truest sense, is between a man and a woman. One man and one woman. It's heterosexual and monogamous. That's what marriage is. That's what holy matrimony is. And it's for the purposes of procreation, so that people can be blessed with children to start a family, which is for the good of them, but for the good of society, communities, and for the good of God. Now, when they say love is love, first of all, that means that a man can love a man and a woman can love a woman, which people go, yeah, fair enough. But that's quite a relatively new thing for people to agree on, right? Like 50 years ago, people wouldn't have agreed on that. And then the next step is that, well, 2 men can love each other. So, 3 men can love each other, or 3 women can love each other. And we're already seeing these throughpuls, they're called, coming up and people are saying, well, yeah, but why not? Like, what is the reason to say no to that? But then, again, so people are like, yeah, in a liberal society, why not? 3 men, 3 women, whatever. But then what comes after that is, well, already we're seeing, I think there was a law passed in Spain, that why not evolve an animal? So your dog can be pleasured, right? as long as you're not harming your dog, who's to say that your dog couldn't have a relationship with you? That's a loving relationship, right? Why is that not love? And to take it to this ultimate conclusion of evil, a child and an adult. Like if that child is consenting, that child is enjoying it, why not? Why is that not love? Well, because a child cannot consent. And that is not love. That's pedophilia. And actually, most of these cases, it's not love. It's lust is what we're talking about. It's desire. It's personal desire. Love is the willing the good of the other. Love is sacrificial. Love is a self-giving love. That's what the biblical love is. But people don't think about it in those terms anymore. They think about coming together to have sex. That's what they're talking about, really, when they're talking about love.
Something I've read up on as well is they were saying like this, there's different stages to it. And the stages has been like same sex. Then it was, you've got the LGBTQ community, this transhumanism.
Yeah.
The next stage is pedophilia. It is that. It's accepting that, if you're attracted to young, it's okay. Like
you're a minor attracted person. You're not a pedophile.
Yeah.
You can't help it. It's your sexual orientation. You're born this way. It's like, no, that is evil. That is one of the greatest evils. It's abhorrent, and we should be all against it. But it's the slippery slope, isn't it?
When does it stop?
Well, it doesn't. Until we say it stops.
But you are looked at, and I'd like to think the same as myself with my traditional family views growing up in a good family household, that these are wrong. This is not normal. But we're being portrayed like we're the...
Yeah, because you're stopping people doing whatever they want, right? So my opinion is harmful to these people because they see it as stopping them meeting their ultimate desires. Whereas I'm not actually telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying what I think the world should look like. I'm saying what I think is good and what's not good. I'm not saying you cannot do that. I'm not in a position to do that. But they see that as an affront to their worldview. And that's because we live in a society where liberalism is all about what you want to do when you want to do it. As long as you're not harming anyone, do whatever you like. I don't think society can function in that way. I think society needs boundaries, guidelines, standards, expectations, and that comes to every element of our lives. Like, I got a lot of stick recently for saying that men should dress more respectably, like wear a suit, and women should dress more modestly. And at the moment I said women should, it's like, how dare you say what a woman should do? It's like, well, I'm not dictating but I'm saying society should have standards. I don't think it's appropriate for women to be walking around with their breasts out and their asses out. I think that's inappropriate. I think it's degenerate, and no one benefits from that. She doesn't benefit from it because she's devaluing herself, and even though she'll say she's liberating herself, she's not. And we don't benefit from it because I don't want my grandfather sat outside a cafe and having to have some woman's boobs in his face, and I don't want my child having that experience either. And it's the same for men.
Yeah.
Men shouldn't be walking around topless in sandals and shorts. Like, men should be dressing in it, well, more respectably, but I would prefer for people to still wear three-piece suits. But, societal standards have slipped.
Well, it's a tough one for me because I feel like you should be free to be able to wear what you want. But, when I look back at like old videos of the 1920s, 1930s, even going back 200 years ago, we had such a better style. Yeah. We dressed so much smarter. We were cool.
And they were free to wear whatever they wanted, but they chose to wear what was respectable.
Just on that, let me just show you something. So this is my family in the docks, 1920s. Somali Muslim, my grandfather was, and my grandmother was mixed race.
Yeah.
They're getting married. It's one of the first interracial marriages.
Wow.
And they're all wearing suits.
Look at them. They look fantastic.
Yeah.
Their hair is done up well. They're dressed properly. Yeah. This is good standards.
And the mix as well. The different,
and then you're sat there in your hoodie.
Hey, come on! You can't expect me to wear a three-piece suit here today.
Why? No, there's a serious question though. Why? Because of cultural norms, right?
I guess so.
Because you would feel out of place wearing a three-piece suit. I'm not wearing a three-piece suit.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Well, we both know someone who always dresses very smart three-piece suit, hats.
Yeah, hats and podium.
And everyone knows him because he's always got a high standard of dressing and
the hat.
like that, yeah.
But we dress to fit in with the people around us, in our society around us. And if the standards keep slipping, we'll dress worse and worse and worse. And you're right, up until maybe 50 years ago, everyone has always dressed well, pretty much. Even the poorest people in the country dressed well.
I made sure I wore my chinos today for Calvin, so I knew he was going to wear a pair of cords or something.
But I mean, and this is cash, isn't it? This is,
This is cash, but to know to society now, you're dressed like really smart, and
which I find so sad.
it is sad. That's casual, but to the average person on the estate or the average man, you are dressed
It's
either
not-
dorky or
Yeah.
Um,
Like I get a lot
smart.
of comments, like a lot of vitriol for the way I dress. I'm like, fair enough. Like if you would rather I dress scruffy, that's on you. But this is such a recent thing. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, would have been on the beach in his suit. He would have rolled up his trousers. He would have had a napkin on his head.
Would you say a lot of that is convenience, though? The way we've changed clothing,
Yeah, absolutely. it is.
Convenience. A
Yeah.
lot of it is.
Massively.
Is it not just expression? Like the clothing, like I love, like Cullen's got his own style. I may wear my own stuff. I love what you're wearing today, and that
No, I don't think
reflects
it's
up.
No.
So
I
what
think
should
that's a
I wear? What you're wearing?
No, I'm not saying wear what I'm wearing. I'm saying wear better than what I'm wearing.
Okay.
I was like, I don't think this is a form of expression.
There was a
But-
code. It's like there was a code back then, isn't it? It's like a way you should dress to the
There
ball,
was.
to the.
It was etiquette. And
Yeah.
it used to be explicitly taught. Like young women used to go to finishing school to learn, which fork to use, knife and fork to use, and stuff like this.
They don't do
and
that
young
now.
men used to be told to open the door for women. Like we used to pass on these values. So I reached an age where I thought, actually, I looked at my parents, I looked at my grandparents. I thought, my granddad was always smartly dressed. My dad isn't always smartly dressed. Like what happened between those generations? Is that, do you get to an age where you sort of like, old people are always on the bus in suits, right? Doesn't matter where they're going, or they're sat in the corner of the pub in a suit. Like, do you reach an age where, I thought, no, you don't. No one tells you it. So I reached a point where I thought, actually, from now on, I'm never leaving the house without a collar. I'm always going to wear shoes or boots. I'm not going to wear a tracksuit unless I'm going to the gym. And I made a conscious decision to up my standards because I thought, I don't want to be that old person in a baseball cap and tracksuit.
Well, do you know
who
what?
thinks he's still a 20-year-old.
This is what does make me cringe a bit. Like, and I know people who are 50, 60, 70. They go, I look young for my age, don't I? And it's like,
You're like,
no,
no,
it's because
you
you're wearing a
don't.
pair of
It's
110s and a fucking shell suit.
And I'm sounding very judgmental, but it is judgmental.
Well, it's the same, like, maybe this is an interesting one as well. If we talk about the standards of clothing, what about names? Like, I know someone who called their kid T. Henry.
What?
Can you imagine when he's 60 or 70? Hi, I'm T. Henry. Like, what the fuck? I just think that's weird.
Arsenal fan, are they? They couldn't.
Oh, he
decide-
definitely was an Arsenal fan. But do you know what I mean? Or do you think that's different?
No,
you know,
I do.
because
it's all the same. It is. It's pop culture, isn't it?
it's dumbing down, I
It
think.
is dumbing down. Yeah.
Definitely dumbing down.
Let's make all a decision to bring those standards back up.
I want to.
Like next
I'm
time I see you, I
for
want to
that.
see you in a shirt instead of a hoodie.
We're coming to London on the 27th
Okay,
next
cool.
month, so we'll come and I'll make sure he's wearing some smart.
And
Yeah,
no
too-
trainers.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying.
They're for
'cause
running in.
Yeah, no, but these ain't like, this is what I'm saying.
But
Even,
they're so comfortable. They look good.
no, yeah, even these I would look as a smarter shoe, trainer, whatever you want to call it, but they're not, yeah, you're right, mate. You're all right. Wear a pair of, I don't know, loafers, boots, I don't know, whatever, but just, I was always known as that kid. That's why I really appreciate it. You ask any of my mates, Cullen was the kid. They're all out in tracksuits. Yeah. I was in jeans and just trying to dress myself a bit better, like, you know. And it wasn't equipped for what we were doing. We were going over the woods, fucking.
Yeah,
building a tree house.
we see these pictures on social media. That picture was fantastic. We see pictures like that on social media all the time. And we look,
Oh, I love
we go,
it.
oh, it's so nice back then. It's like, well, it could be that nice.
It could
now.
be that. Why are we-
We just have to make that decision.
Yeah. Well, again, it's convenience. Again, we are dumbed down massively. If we had some sort of apocalyptic disaster or agricultural disaster now, we would all starve to death. 100 years ago, most people relied on their land. Now,
That's true.
I go to the shop every single day for my food. I might go shopping once a week.
Each comes in a packet. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, if the shop shut now, I starve in 2 days because I haven't got... And it's everything. Technology, farming,
Convenience. It's always
convenience, and Instagram, TikToks, and everything we were just talking about. We are definitely dumbing down.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about sin, really, haven't we?
Yeah, but I think convenience is a good segue because I think convenience is the greatest sin of our time because we always lower our standards for something that's easier for us. And there's something about hard work and reward, especially for us men, right? I think men need to feel achievement and accomplishment. And to get that feeling, it's better to go out in the world and do something. But for so long, we've been hooked, and I'm as guilty as anyone, on our video games, that instant feeling of achievement, that serotonin hit, and they're programmed that way on purpose to keep you hooked. But that means that people aren't contributing. And this is part of the wider problem that men have become feminized and infantilized, and men aren't men anymore. And I'm not talking about going and picking a fight or fighting on a podcast or something. But I mean,
who are you on about?
But I mean, gentlemen too. I mean, the male in a relationship should be the protector and the provider. That's how we've always been, to protect our women and provide for them, to protect our children and provide for them.
I have this argument with my missus all the time because I'm like, I comes home from
You
work.
should argue with her.
Like,
You should tell her. I'm joking.
I'm like, where's the
joking.
food? I'm like, where's the food? And she's like, who are you talking to? Why didn't you? And I'm like, babe, but I've been at work all day. She's like, so have I. And I'm like,
But
and it's like, I do
enough.
the dish. Yeah, it is fair enough. And I do the dishes and I'll mop up. She'll say I don't, but I do. But like, she expects me to take the bins out.
But why
have I got to take the bins out? It's a
why
manly
should she
thing.
cook for you if she's been at work all day?
No, not all. No, she works from home. So like, she could put it on and prep,
There's nothing you could cook for her.
Yeah, no, I know I could, and I do sometimes. But what I'm saying is, right, is like, there's little things in, there's still some rules that are embedded. So it's like the bins, you've got to do the bins. Why have I?
we're like
If you want me to
halfway
not do
there.
the cooking, and it's like, well, it's a manly thing. Yeah. Well, if that's the manly thing, why don't you go in? And
That's the
women
problem.
will hate that.
We've
but
taken on board certain things and disregarded others, and it doesn't match up anymore.
the convenient ones, isn't it?
If it was ideal, one partner should be at home, looking after the home, and one partner should be at work making the money. I'm not saying it has to be the man
Female,
or the woman,
yeah. If it's the yeah,
usually it made sense for the man to be out work because men do the more physical, hard labor, and women would be at home raising children, right? That made sense. But the moment we said that women could go to work, it became women have to go to work because that's the way the financial system works in this Western world now. Yeah. It's impossible to survive on one salary. And that's because that's how they wanted it. The feminist movement was a trap because now they get 2 taxes instead of 1.
And we're all working because we've all still got to go home and cook our dinner. So there's extra hours.
Yeah.
So there's no give, is there?
No.
There's no compromise.
but it was teamwork, wasn't it? It was.
But
that.
we should all be having like less hours to work in a week if we're expected to clean our houses.
We've got double the labor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on, obviously.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed, isn't it? It's like equal pay. What do you think of that? Like, I'm for it in a sense, but then at the same time, it's like equal job roles. I don't know, I don't think a female should be doing something that's very manly. I don't know, What do you know about Wales' #1 rated security provider, Boss Security? Boss Security Limited are a professional security service provider based in South Wales, but servicing clients on a national scale. With over 10 years of experience in the security industry, they are true experts in all aspects of security. From CCTV monitoring, manned guards, mobile patrols, and alarm response, they provide the most advanced technology on the market, along with an expert team of staff delivering complete security solution to their clients throughout the UK. So why don't you stay secure? We've all heard of that saying, it's too good to be true. And I live by it until I come across Tidy Comps. Because there are good people out there who genuinely want to help make a difference in people's lives. And that's what TC are doing, via huge raffle prizes with all earnings going to a good cause. If you fancy a chance at winning, big or small, then send in your £1 entries to Tidy Comps. There are many opportunities to win, from daily and weekly Pay My Bills comps, signed shirts, and the big one that runs monthly, with prizes including 80 grand cash or a fully furnished house. What are you waiting for? Get a chance at winning big, and if you don't, then at least you're taking part in helping local charities throughout Wales, such as the Welsh Children's Cancer Charity, Jacob Abraham Foundation, Tackle Your Thoughts, and many more. Get over to Tidy Comps Facebook and other social media platforms to see what prizes are available today.
So there's no such thing as equality. Equality is a lie. Men are not equal to women. Individuals are not equal to each other. Like, men are faster, stronger. Women are more maternal, nurturing, empathetic. Generally speaking, of course, there will always be exceptions to the rules.
A couple of psychos out there, you know.
Well, yeah, but we shouldn't have men competing against women in sport or in anything, actually. We should have men and women complement each other, but they're not the same. Men and women are equal in terms of, under the eyes of God, in dignity and worth and value, but that's it. We're not equal in any other way. But we should celebrate our differences.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I don't see why we're in this age now where we're forced to, try and push those boundaries. People would say, you ask the question, well, why weren't there many, people who were probably homosexual or trans back 100 years ago? Oh, because of the pressures, they would have been persecuted, or, and you're like, I don't think I think that's a myth. I think that's probably an excuse.
There's some of that, but there's also the social contagion, especially with the trans movement, that kids today want to fit in. Well, kids always want to fit in. And if to fit in, you have to be either transgender or non-binary, or you have to have some kind of sexual... You have to have some way of being different, right? to be the same.
Well, we were just saying out there then about, you said I would, if I had a kid, he ain't having a tablet or a phone.
No.
And I was like, the problem is that, the success, they're being held for being probably bullied for not having a phone. And you said, well, I'd rather him be bullied for that, because there's bullying going on phones and stuff anyway. The worst kind of trolling.
When I was a teacher, I was a safeguarding officer. And most of the bullying takes place online now. It's cyberbullying. So the biggest piece of advice I can ever give to any parent is, do not let your child have unsupervised internet access. Personally, I wouldn't let children have smartphones. I don't think they need them. Like, if your kid needs to be in contact with you on the way to school or way from school, give them a dumb phone, give them a brick Nokia, right? A smartphone is just a portal to the internet. And the internet is full of bullies. It's their peers. It's groomers and pedophiles. It's nasty, videos of people killing each other. It's pornography. It's everything you don't want your child to have. But also, letting your child have a smartphone in their bedroom at night is giving strangers access to your child's bedroom at night. It's basically inviting strangers in. That's what you're doing. Like, I would not even be comfortable talking about the stuff that I saw as a safeguarding officer. Like, it's scarring. The things that children see and go through today is unimaginable compared to what we went through in our childhoods. And it shouldn't be happening. But it's parents not parenting. Like, to say, oh, all the other kids have got one, so why can't it? No, that's not good enough. Like, that's your kid we're worried about, not everyone else's kids. They don't need internet access. They don't need a smartphone. They don't need a tablet. And if their schools are assisting, the schools are backwards. The schools have got things back to front, because the good schools say, actually, we have a no smartphone policy.
Yeah. It is. It's pushed like that, isn't it, in some schools, like public schools and stuff.
And am I right to say that the difference between the kids who are constantly on their phones, iPads, or whatever, there's a stark contrast with their intelligence and emotional intelligence?
Oh, yeah. It's spot on, because it's ADHD. Like, I'm guilty of this myself. I have an addiction to my smartphone. Like, if I don't have my phone on me, I get anxious. That's not a good thing. That says I'm too addicted to my smartphone. But children have this too, even more so because they're more emotional. But also there's the offloading. So we're not as smart as our forebears. And we think, this is another thing, we have the arrogance that we think we're better than people who came before us, but we're not smarter than them, because we don't remember as well, because we know it's always accessible. Our brains know, even if we don't consciously know, that we don't have to retain information because we can get it at our fingertips whenever we want it. So we don't hold on to knowledge. It's always on our Google devices. So actually, back in the days of books and libraries, people were smarter because we had people who were specialists in certain areas, and they read up on those areas and they retained that knowledge. And now we're all experts in everything, which means we're experts in nothing.
Yeah. And it pushes onto the cyborg, the transhumanism agenda, because, like you said, without that you feel disabled. It's sad.
I know,
very sad.
But, and it's, on one hand, we're more connected than we've ever been, which is great. Like, we wouldn't have met without smartphones.
Yeah. The pros and cons is how you use it, isn't it?
However, we're also more disconnected than we've ever been, because we don't know our next door neighbours anymore. And I know I'm generalising again, but we don't know the people we live with and around anymore. We can go our entire day without speaking to a human being. Beep on the checkout at Tesco, You get on the bus or the tube or whatever, go to wherever you're going, and then get home. You don't have to speak to another person because you can do it all on your phone. That's wrong.
There's no social, like, real interaction anymore, is there? Cannonball question: Will Christianity ever rule again to the heights it has before?
Wouldn't that be great? No, I don't think so. Because it's not about ruling. It's not about as much as I can romanticize the peak of Christendom. That's not what it's about. It's about truth, beauty, and goodness. It's about that connection to God, because God is love. And I know I talked earlier about what love isn't, but what love is God is love. God is a loving relationship between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the whole point of our faith is he's inviting us into that loving relationship. And that's what the Christian faith is. It's not about earthly goods. It's not about kingdoms and dominions or any of that. That's all us in our flawed ways.
Yeah.
But the West is falling because we've left behind Christianity. But the Christian faith will never die. The Christian faith will always survive. And it's growing in the East.
In the East?
Yeah, Africa, East Asia, Christianity is growing. Globally, it's growing. It's just in the West, it's dying out.
That's funny, isn't it? If we could go a bit east, actually, to Ukraine, what's your take on?
You really want to get me cancelled today, don't you?
No, I don't. I want the truth.
It's all
Ukraine.
A scam. It's a massive scam. Now, I'm not saying there's not a war going on. I'm saying it's a proxy war. I'm saying until recently, the Ukraine was seen as the most corrupt nation in Europe and one of the most corrupt nations in the world. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to hold Zelensky up as some kind of hero. This is idolatry. And he is literally an actor. But
literally.
We know that the Democrats Party in America is making a lot of money via the Ukraine. They've been investing in the Ukraine for a long time, but there's a lot of money going out of the Ukraine. We know that Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, had...
Show us the laptop, man.
Deals. Yeah, the big guy gets 10%, as in his father has to get 10% of everything they earn. It's all corrupt. It's so corrupt. We see suitcases getting confiscated with millions of dollars in US dollars in that are being shipped out of the country. We see that when Zelensky comes over here to beg for more money, his wife is on a shopping spree in Paris spending £40,000. I will never in my life have £40,000 to spend on a shopping spree. Yet they want to take my money, taxpayers' money, to spend over there on their proxy war. We know, and people will say, oh, he's a Putin apologist. I do not support Putin. I've always seen Putin as our enemy. Russia is our enemy. China is our enemy. But the Ukraine is not our ally because of it, right? I think we, as the West, have trolled Russia, especially America, but we've joined in Britain too, and the whole NATO, alliance pushing further and further east when we had an agreement that we wouldn't do that. And of course, America has these chemical labs and biolabs and all this kind of dodgy stuff on the border of Russia and Ukraine. Like, they've been taking the Michael out of Russia. So of course Russia was going to push back. We knew that. But now, who's pushing for peace? These so-called liberal progressives aren't asking for peace. No. They're like, Ukraine must win at all costs. At all costs? What does that mean? At all costs means more human deaths, more lives lost. It means a potential World War III, a nuclear apocalypse. We should be praying for peace. We should be working for peace. And when we've had opportunities for peace, such as April last year...
Well, Boris, wasn't it?
Boris Johnson.
Why is it? This is what I'm saying. Why is the UK... We don't... But no, the people of the West want peace. We don't want war. Why can't we ever say? Why isn't there more...
want peace.
But why isn't there more public outcry about this? It's like people don't even...
They're bought into it. It is like so few people are awake to what's going on in the world. We saw some people wake up with Brexit when they saw that the federalist movement of the EU was basically becoming a United States of Europe, right? So the Germans failed in World Wars I and II, but succeeded in the EU project. It basically became the United States of Europe, and Germany was at the forefront of that. And that wasn't why we got into it. We got into it because of a trade exchange, and it became a political unity of basically becoming a superstate. We said no. We woke up to it. Not everyone did. 52% of the country woke up to it. 48% didn't. Then we had Brexit, where we saw some people woke up to the fact that the government overstepped the mark, took too many liberties away from us, used executive powers they shouldn't have had, and then some people woke up from that and fought against lockdown. And then we had the vaccines, which we are going to find out in the future that were one of the biggest mistakes we've ever made, I believe, because I think the adverse effects are obvious and they're causing more damage than good, or maybe not more damage than good, but a lot of damage, right? There might be some good effects of the vaccine.
Did you get vaccinated?
No, I didn't.
Fair play.
But some people woke up to that, not everyone. And each time with these narratives, fewer and fewer people waking up. Now, people that woke up to Brexit and the lockdowns and the vaccines, that's a small number, but not all of those people woke up to the Ukraine. And it gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer each time.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah, so not everyone who's quite savvy with Brexit and the EU, they're still supporting Ukraine, you're saying?
People are, generally speaking, we as human beings are sheep and we go along with the crowd.
Yeah.
And it takes great effort to move away from the crowd and look at the bigger picture and see what's going on.
Yeah, you only got to look at it geographically, really, on Putin's perspective of why you would be pissed in the first place anyway. When you look into Ukraine and that as well is just horrific. But it is so blatant what's happening.
I always say to my grandparents, not in a patronising way, but their information comes from the media, the news, and the newspapers.
Yeah.
They've been made by someone like me who works in the media and has to fill that column, has to sell the papers, has to make headlines. Yeah. The most shocking thing I've ever seen, or one of them, the tallies we had on the news during COVID of people's deaths. Yeah.
Oh,
what on earth is that about?
Did you see that on YouTube as well? It was like the live feed of deaths.
It was on BBC.
What the fuck? Like,
we need to get to your vaping in a minute, but this is the thing. Like seeing death numbers, like we've never had death numbers before, so it's abstract. We don't know if that's less than usual, more than usual. All we know is like, oh my gosh, that many people died. We must do everything we can to stop it. Like, no, people die every day. Thousands of people die every day. It's not a good thing, but it's a fact of life. Yeah. And they use that. They manipulated us on purpose.
Sick.
It is sick.
It is sick, isn't it? And yeah, you're right. Vaping needs to stop.
Can we get to this?
It's disgusting, isn't it?
Have a fag like a man.
I do. Right? Can't have a fag.
I can't stand this. Honestly, it's like sucking on bits of plastic, and it smells like candy floss. It's like it's the most infantilizing thing ever.
So I know it's not a good thing because if we look at kids now, kids who kids do ask someone to go in the shop for a pack of cigarettes, but to the level of people who smoke vapes, there's no comparison. And these kids now who are using vapes will inevitably, if they haven't already, go to smoking fags. So it's not a good thing,
It's like a dummy, isn't it?
It is like a dummy in a way because what I do is, I'll smoke cigarettes throughout my day, but when I go home, because I can't be bothered going out the back garden in the fucking rain.
That's convenience again.
Convenience is a fucking bastard. Yeah, you're right.
I just see them. Everywhere I go now, I'm walking through clouds of strawberry
vapors.
Oh, it's like, come on, people.
And you got like pro vapors as well, who've got like the actual machine ones, which they do all like blowing love hearts and stuff.
Oh, I can't.
Fuck that.
It's so infantilizing.
But isn't it weird how quickly it switched?
Get a pipe.
Yeah, but wait, if we get the dress sense back, I don't mind the pipe. I don't mind that.
That's another societal standard slipping. I mean, I don't smoke because I don't want to die of lung cancer. But if you're going to smoke a proper fag. Or a cigar.
Go all out like.
Yeah, do it properly or don't do it at all.
Go hard or go home. Calvin schooling me. What do you think the outcome is with Russia? I'm hearing rhetoric of, because I think since the Queen and us gone as well, like, God rest her soul, it just feels like the royal family have just crumbled. And, we've got old Rishi in charge now. It just seems like we're
not a powerful state anymore. We haven't got the confidence. We've lost that confidence since World War I. Actually, we were a force to be reckoned with. We're not anymore. It's like we've got small man syndrome. That's what it is. But we follow the states, so it depends on who the next American president is. If it's Donald Trump, we might see an end to this war. If it's a Democrat again, it could go on for many years and/or escalate.
Before I go into I want to go into some cancel culture. I just want to have this take on it because I've seen the news recently that they've elected the Scottish new minister, who's Asian or of Asian descent. Being a Christian, and I've spoken to Tommy, and he's mentioned before of like the Islamization of Britain.
Yeah.
Can you see that for the UK then?
Well, it's happening, isn't it? Right under our noses, right before our eyes, we have a Muslim leader of Scotland. Now, me saying that, people, so that's going to be quite a divisive comment. People go, oh, no, we're a Christian country. And people go, oh, we're not a Christian. We are an explicitly Christian country. We have a Christian monarch. Our head of state has to be Christian. We have Christians explicitly in the House of Lords, the Lord spiritual. Our head of judiciary, head of our military, all of this is Christian. Like, it's embedded, even if most people aren't Christian anymore. And we still have more Christians than
They still go and celebrate Christmas.
Like, we are a Christian nation. Now, to have a Muslim head of state is troubling for so many reasons, but one of them is the fact that who he was up against was a Christian woman. People hated her because of her faith, not for anything else. It was for her faith. Now, how can you say, I like him, I like the Muslim chap, but I don't like the Christian woman? Like, because the reasons that they didn't like her was her views on same-sex marriage and abortion and traditional Christian views that would be the same in Islam. But it comes back to our earlier conversation.
The exotic.
Views are allowed because they're exotic and it's foreign. But for a Christian to hold those views, that's bigoted and too old-fashioned. It's double standards, it's hypocrisy, and it's patronizing racism. And actually, it's damaging because one of the first things he did was invite his family around for prayer in the, I forgot the name of the Scottish building. Is it Birch? Anyway, praying to a false god in an English, not head of state, but first minister, a Scottish first minister, and we have a heathen as prime minister in England too. We've got a Hindu prime minister,
and then we've got Rishi Sunak, Sadiq Khan as well.
Muslim head of London. Like, our Christian faith is deteriorating at the same time as we are being not even Islamified, because it's not just Islam; it's just anything but Christianity.
Anything but, yeah.
It's sad.
Is it anything? Can the heads of the Christianity, or I'm speaking in layman's terms there, can they take any responsibility for like losing their grasp on society?
Oh yeah, all of it. They have most of the responsibility.
It's the woke, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the woke side.
They're no longer standing firm in the faith. They're no longer going, this is what we believe. So people don't know what that they believe anymore. So they think it's changed. Like, the biggest thing I hear is that people say, not everyone who's Christian believes, not everyone is against abortion. Not everyone who's Christian is against same-sex marriage. I'm like, well, this is what the church teaches and what the church has always taught. The problem is we've stopped teaching it. We haven't changed our teaching. We've just stopped teaching. So people think that our teaching has changed. And that's the wider church in general, the Catholics and the Anglicans, everybody in the West. We haven't been saying, look, these are Christian norms, these are Christian values, and this is why it's important. So when people hear it now, they think, whoa, I haven't heard that for a while. That's old-fashioned. You're a bigot. It's like, they've let us down.
I can't imagine a Christian leading Saudi Arabia or a Christian leading.
Well, this is it. Hamza Yusuf got there in the Scottish Parliament, and he goes, the head of the military, white. The head of the education, white. The head of this, white. And he says white as if it's a bad thing to be white in a predominantly white country. Scotland's 96, 97% white. Of course, most people in positions of authority are white. But he's Pakistani Muslim, right? Would he go back to Pakistan and go, why are they all Muslim? He's Muslim. No, of course he wouldn't. Why are they Pakistani? No, of course he wouldn't. You'd expect in a Pakistani Muslim country for most
it's like
people
they've been sold a
Muslim.
ticket, come in here, which is a blag like this is what you should expect, and when he's come here, it's different. It's like, this is what it's like for these people.
It's the lie. He's pushing that lie that to be white is a bad thing, but also to be multicultural is a good thing. And the only way to not be racist is to not be white and to be multicultural. Yeah.
And it's funny that it comes from you, Calvin, someone who is mixed race, I think that's the maddest thing about it. It's like that you get slammed for being racist and other things, and it's like,
I don't think any race is superior to any other race. I think, I think race is unimportant, actually.
Yeah.
But I think culture is very important.
Well, talking about culture, what about the cancel kind?
Yes.
I got some people I want to talk about. Some we've already mentioned, but just get your take on some of them, really. So first of all, it is the man we had here with Diablo, Tommy Robinson.
Yeah. Oh, that was an interesting episode.
Well, I took it as a compliment because you said I don't really watch podcasts. I don't watch that.
Yeah. I thought, oh gosh, is he going to get some surprise guest in? Should I put my black belt on?
No, well, look, and I just said to you before, it's a shame really because, I don't want the Central Club to be known as that, but it happened. You can't change
Central
it.
Boxing Club.
Yeah. This is every man and their dog has mentioned that episode to me, and I'm like, you're missing. Like, we've done so much. Well, we've interviewed so many great people who are doing amazing things. And
It's the way of the world.
Or
Getting
people
on their radar, though, is fine.
Yeah.
But no, listen, what it is, the be all and end all is
Get him off me.
misery breeds misery. Yeah, get him off me, get him off. No, misery breeds misery,
Yes,
Calvin.
it's true.
You know, that's why Jeremy
People-
Kyle was here in the first place, because people could wake up and, you know, they're
That's a British
unemployed,
thing.
but they feel like they feel better than that man who got 6 teeth in his head.
It's a
you
British
know,
thing.
and
The Americans,
they love it.
celebrate success. They love to see someone achieve. In Britain, when we see someone
love the
achieve,
underdog.
we can't wait for them to fail.
Yeah.
And people will be, you know, because you're doing something great, you're doing something productive and creative. People will be out there hoping you fail. And the moment you do something that they can use, they'll twist it and use it against you.
Yeah.
So you're going to have more of that. You're just going to.
Oh, yeah, like we've already started to see it, and like people say you should take it as a compliment.
Yeah,
'cause,
absolutely.
You know, but it is sad. And yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, I like Tommy. You know, I don't agree with all of his views. You know, there are some that I think views that he don't agree with no more, maybe, that he's grown into, mistakes he's owned up.
Yeah.
But I just can't get my head around this rhetoric of him being racist. I don't think he's racist.
Well, there's, you know, you get tarred with a brush and then it sticks. You know, I'd love to have Tommy on the show. It wouldn't be possible. I'd never be able to get him on air. He's kind of created a caricature of himself, and I don't think it's helpful for him because he's fought the good fight for a long time. He's fought many good battles. You know, where we are right now in the CSC area, you know, against the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, all of the attention that issue is getting now, and the positive aspects of that, a lot of that's down to him and the hard work that he put in. However, the way he's put himself across has meant that he can't be, he's inaccessible to the mainstream now. So I would say Tommy's probably his own worst enemy. You know, I'd love to have him on the show. I really would. I'd love to have a sit-down chat with him. But I know I'd never be able to get it approved.
By
But
who?
that doesn't mean that people are controlled.
Who? Yeah, but who are the people who are saying no?
Well, what it is.
Let's not talk about your boss then. Let's just
Okay.
talk about in general. He wants to go on, let's say Lad Bible, for instance.
Yeah.
Like I've been on Lad Bible, and I mentioned Tommy, and they said the exact same thing. We'd love to. My boss wouldn't approve it. Why?
It's not necessarily
Who?
people proving it. It's people have blinkers on for certain things. So I wrote an article, right? I wrote an article about Enoch Powell.
Yes, I've seen this. Your rivers of blood, innit?
Yeah. And I thought, actually, I read that speech that he gave, and I agreed with a lot of it. And I could see where he was coming from. Now, the moment I said that, instantly, because that name is just associated with racism. So it's like either Calvin, you're a racist, you're a sporting racist, blah, blah, blah. People didn't even want to read what I had to say.
He just read the Enoch Powell bit.
Yeah, they just saw that name as like, boom, that's it. And that's the same with Tommy Robinson. They see the name like, boom, racism. So they can't even get past, they can't even hear what he has to say anymore because his name is so tainted. That's the problem. You know, my Enoch Powell thing, once people read it, they were like, oh, I can see where you're coming from there. You're not being racist and you're not even talking about race. You're talking about immigration and the problems of immigration. Yeah, because no one is entirely evil, just as no one is entirely good, right? There's shades of grey in everybody. So some people might say a lot of bad things and have some good things to say too. And that's the same with anyone, right? So I think Enoch Powell says things that I disagree with, but he said things that I also agree with. And I want to address the things that I agree with because I think they're important, actually. And he was one of the people that were bold enough to say them at the time. And he didn't get cancelled at the time, but he did get cancelled as a result. But it's the same with Tommy Robinson. And to answer your question, who would say no? It's not there's a person in power that says no. It's the structure and the system around us and people around us. So people who see that name and see that as an
It's
objection,
the backlash, like, you know.
not just the backlash, but you know, every institution, every organization is made up of human beings, right? And even in an organization that you would think is sound, you're going to have liberals there.
Yeah.
And even if they're not the people in power, they obfuscate and they create roadblocks and they block you and they prevent you from doing things, even if they don't know they're doing it.
Yeah. Andrew Tate.
I
What's
don't
your
like
take on him?
I think he is a problem because people, right, we talked a bit about masculinity, but masculinity is important because men need to be men and women need to be women. And because we've lost masculinity in our society for so long, people are searching for it. And he is the wrong place. because for him, it's all about materialism. It's about aesthetics. So it's about, selfish wants and desires. It's not actually about being the protector and the provider. It's not about being the gentleman. And it's not coming from a place of faith. It's not coming from the Christian faith.
Is this anything to do with him converting to Islam?
I think that is a mistake, but I didn't like him before that. I think he is the description of toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need good masculinity.
Yeah, people. I understand what
the
you're
way
saying.
he treats
here.
women, for example, and his
Disgusting,
the way he's made money, it's evil. Like,
Yeah,
I can't support that.
it gives me that trafficking vibe. Like, it does. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think OnlyFans and shit like that is just seedy and.
But you're right. That people are latching onto him because it's almost
Yeah,
like,
because if we haven't
He's
got it,
offering
we're
it.
holding on
No
to
one
it.
else
Yeah.
is offering it. Like, there's him and there's Jordan Peterson. That's pretty much it.
What about Rogan?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But still, we can count on one hand the number of people that are offering a solution to masculinity in the 21st century. Like, again, go back 50 years, you just look at your father or your grandfather, and everyone would be a manly man.
Yeah. Donald Trump.
I like Donald Trump. I warmed up to him. I didn't like him at first because I thought he's a bit crass. He's very brash. He's just very American, isn't he? Like, he's not a gentleman. He's just very, I'm the best. I'm the best. But I liked his politics. He got
But
stuff
again,
done.
some people look at that like masculinity, though. They probably get confused with that now as well. Like, because you
Like, I
put
don't
these
think he's a role
TikToks when he's
model.
walking in and they're playing all the "I'm the man" tunes in the background.
But you know what? He may not be like that behind the scenes. In fact, he probably isn't because he couldn't do what he's done in his career or whatever. But he's played the game of running for president, and it
He put
worked.
himself up.
He
didn't have to stand.
he was what we've just said early on. If you don't like what politics looks like, go into it yourself.
Yeah.
That's an inspiration in my eyes. They didn't like it and they wanted him gone for it. But I hope, I would like to see him back in power. And like, I state the obvious of everything. There was no wars when he was there. He was the first man to go and meet Kim Jong-un, whether we like him or not.
Yeah.
There was contact made there. And
Yeah, he brought contact to North Korea and South Korea, and he brought peace to the Middle East, and he didn't start any wars. And his anti-stereotyping legislation was some of the best legislation I've ever seen. That said you can't stereotype people based on their race, their gender, their ethnicity, and everything. And the Democrats got rid of it. They hated it. And you'd think, well, surely that's something the left can get behind. But no, they got rid of it because they wanted to push critical race theory.
yeah, well, they
queer
tried. There
theory.
was times, like you don't hear it now probably, but there was times that people did target him as a racist.
Yeah.
And the BLM movement was around and stuff. But
But people can't ever get to his work and what he's done and his policies because they can't get past him as a person. Again, it's that blindness.
yeah. J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, she's doing good things. Like, we're not aligned politically, but I support her fight for protecting women and women's spaces. I think that's fantastic. And she's suffered a lot because of it.
Yeah.
She's another person that she didn't have to say anything. She didn't have to do anything. She's got it made. She's done it, but she's doing it. She's standing up, and I think that's so important.
Gary Lineker.
He's an idiot, bless him. Such an idiot, isn't he? He's another one that doesn't have to do it, but probably shouldn't do it. Like, Gary, be quiet. Like, every time he opens his mouth, he says something foolish. What was the last thing he said again? Oh, the Nazi thing.
You want about the Nazi one, yeah, with the immigrants.
Don't go there. Honestly, they always have to go to Nazi, don't they? And before that, he said something I can't remember now, but I think he's blocked me on Twitter. He just talk about football, man. Don't bring politics into it because I don't think to be honest, I don't think he's smart enough.
Do you think that's people in their ear? Like I think I genuinely think the Marcus Rashford situation where he's feeding school kids. I don't think that's Marcus Rashford.
Oh, that's his
And I
PR
think-
team.
Exactly. So do you think there's just like people in the background with Gary maybe because of his voice and his following that
I
maybe
don't
someone's
think
just
it's
said something.
Not in the same way as Rashford. I think for
Yeah,
Gary,
no. I
it's
don't think
he's
it's
around.
more as I don't think it's as methodically thought. But
No, it's the people he surrounds himself with.
Yeah, okay.
They're all like, yeah, to be a good person, you have to be pro-Ukraine and pro-open borders and pro this and that. And he's like, yeah, I'm a good person. Yeah, I believe in these things. I don't even know if he probably would. If you met him in the pub, I don't think I'd.
But I think the thing that I really liked about what you said is, look, I don't agree with you, Gary, but you shouldn't be banned. You shouldn't be cancelled. And
No. Everyone should be able to keep their platform. Everyone should have a voice. But use it wisely.
Transhumanism, where do you see this going?
Well, I can imagine eventually we'd probably be sat in our little booths, plugged into our VR headsets, but at some point it'll probably be implanted, won't it? Hooked into some kind of matrix, essentially, living a life of real life poverty, virtual luxury. I mean, that would suit the WEF agenda, wouldn't it? That, you own nothing and you're happy. If we're all plugged in constantly into the internet or whatever the future version of the internet is, we wouldn't really need much in the real life, just a UV drip and IV drip. And
You seem very confident, like this conviction when you're saying that this is our future.
I mean, I can see it happening. I hope it doesn't. I'd fight against it tooth and nail. Have you seen Demolition Man?
What a film.
I will be the people in the sewers, mate. I don't want that.
Hey, what seems to be your boggle?
Oh, I mean, I don't.
John Spartan, I'm
swear.
fining you
I don't
£50.
want people to be fined for swearing. I think it's ridiculous.
It's mad, isn't it? That's mad.
Yeah.
Coming from a reverend as well.
But here it will be, you used the wrong pronoun and you get a slip, a fee, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's so confusing.
It's not confusing. A man is a man, a woman is a woman.
No, what they're trying to achieve is confusing.
Yeah, you're right.
Where do you want to be in the structure of the Church of England then? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
Oh, I don't have any ambitions like that. I try to keep my ear to the ground, try to keep my eyes open. When God opens a door to me, I'll try to walk through it. That's difficult, but that's what I'm trying to do. I don't have any career ambitions or goals or anything like that. I'm happy where I am in my parish. It keeps me grounded. It's real people with real problems and real faith, and I love that. And the TV stuff, I don't really enjoy to the same degree, but I do that because I feel that's what I'm called to do. But I don't see myself anywhere. I don't know where I see myself.
You see this talk a lot with religious people, the end times, the second comings, these type of things. Do you think we're near any of them?
No, I think there's a bit of the same kind of arrogance that the left have on our side when people say this is the end time. Like, it's like now is the worst. Now is not the worst it's ever been. I'm sure it can get a lot worse. I don't want to see it get worse, but I'm sure it can do. And I hope it's not the end times, because Judgment Day is not something I'm looking forward to. None of us should be. It's not going to be pleasant. Although the afterlife, of course, will be beatific. But up until that point, not going to be good. So I'm hoping we're not there yet.
Yeah. Calvin, it's been a real pleasure talking to you.
The pleasure was mine. It's been a good chat.
Yeah, you've enjoyed it?
Yeah, I'm going to go look around now. Have a browse around Cardiff, see what it's got to offer.
You're going to,
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a beautiful castle just by there. I'm going to show you. Castle
Lovely.
Koch.
Castle what?
Castle Koch. It means red. It is red in Castle Red. So red is Koch. Glass is blue, by the way. But yeah, it's the Marquis of Bute.
You speak Welsh?
Glass, no, only the rude words. Same in any language. I only know the fuck offs and the pussies and the dicks and. But yeah, it's a fairy tale castle inspired. The Marquis of Bute built it when he revamped Cardiff Castle as well, didn't he? Because that was the Roman foundations are still there, but he built that about 200 years ago now, and he built that as well. But it's beautiful. Robin Hood, you're near Nottingham. You know Robin Hood.
Yeah, I grew up in Sherwood Forest, man.
Well, you know those turrets on the film Robin Hood with what's his name? Kevin Costner. That one. Yeah. It looks like that. That's what it looks like. So it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hey, listen, really, really nice having you here. I know we are living in some bleak times at the moment. Like you said, it could get worse, but hopefully not. Yeah. What you got planned in the near future? Anything?
I've got an Easter special coming out on Easter Day. That'll be very good. And other than that, just keep trudging on, man.
Yeah, you always do those Easter specials. Something happened to the one, though, didn't it? Did they cancel the one of them? Or?
Yeah, this latest one got cancelled. That's a whole other
That's
story.
very sad, though.
I know. I managed to get back on track. This is the main reason I do what I do, actually. The weekly stuff I do on TV gives me a platform that enables me to do these Easter and Christmas specials, which are just entirely about Christ and celebrating Him, and that's what's important to me.
I do want to ask you, maybe not on the religious side, but if I said to you 3 books to recommend, what would they be?
If not religious,
I thought you was going to say the Bible,
Bible, Book of Common Prayer. Anything by Roger Scruton. So pick anything. He's a fantastic writer and really captured what it means to be English. Nigel Bigger's latest book is fantastic. So he captures British history and looks at it holistically and says, these people that are saying anything colonialist is bad, is that true? And he looks at the bad and the good. And that's so important for us to remember. Like going back to our conversation earlier about losing facts and knowledge, like he's a good historian.
Nigel Bigger, as you say.
Yeah, so Roger Scruton, Nigel Bigger.
Yeah.
And actually, this is slightly religious, but this is the best book I've read recently. It's called The Contraceptive Deception by Patrick Coffin. I can't recommend that enough.
What's that one about?
So that is how we've got into the mess that we're in, because a lot of this comes down to contraception and separating the sexual act from marriage. Because once that was done, sex became about pleasure and commodity. And once it became about that, it became, once we had contraception, men could get what they needed and what they wanted without the consequences. And so commitment fell apart, society fell apart because we don't have families anymore. We've got children that don't have fathers anymore, and people are lonelier and more unhappy. And it really identifies that actually a lot of all the problems we're seeing in society come down to contraception. And people wouldn't imagine that because they always see it as a good thing. But it really paints a holistic picture.
Wow. I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah, definitely do. Let me know what you think.
I will. Like I said, we're in London on the 27th. Where to are you based then in London? Because you say you film like nearly every day.
So I'm in Northwest. The studio is in Paddington.
North Wheezy.
Yeah. Where do you come from?
North Wheezy. Yeah. Oh my God, this guy. He wasn't always a private school boy. He's talking about a Channel U classic there. Flirting D, man. Yeah. He was a grime kid at one stage, was you? No, just flicking.
Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Would you, if you could, we do it with everyone, but I don't know if you write your stuff or it's just off the dome, but could you see us out with a beautiful message to the people watching?
Sure. I was going to go all roll safe there when you said off the dome. But a message for people. I say my message is return to the Gospels. Pick up a Bible, read Mark's Gospel. It is the shortest Gospel. And really meditate on it, and pray on it, and see how it has an impact on your lives. And if I can leave you with any words, it will be the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with us all evermore. Amen.
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 Thank you very much, Calvin. Real pleasure. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Go and follow Calvin on Twitter and GB News. There's some great pieces on there. See you all soon. Stay central.
The Central Club.